Right, Tom, thanks so much for agreeing to talk to us about this 10 to follow. Right, where do you start, even beginning to fathom it?
I think the key to the 10 to follow is different from trying to find the winner of a normal race. You've got to find the winner of the big races. I think that's the key, and so therefore you've got to have some versatility in your horses. I think if you can find a horse that might run in the Gold Cup or has the chance of running in the Champion Chase, maybe an Altior or something like that, it gives you the versatility to win those big pots. I think if you're trying to specifically target big races, for example, the Gold Cup is only one race. If you're trying to find the winner of the Gold Cup in this year's 10 to follow competition, it's probably quite tricky. You've got to find, he's got to win the Gold Cup for it to be a viable option, for it to be a viable horse, because you're better off then sort of looking for your novice hurdlers or your novice chasers that might win a sequence and then go for the RSA or something, or the Arkle or something like that. They're the ones I think that will provide better value than doing your album photos that are going to run once and then in the Gold Cup. If he doesn't win the Gold Cup, it's a wasted selection.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So you wouldn't, given the structure for the points, you wouldn't necessarily go for like the Gold Cup winner and all the big races, but look for one that's going to try and run up a sequence.
Yeah, well, I'd like a sequence, but I'd also like them to end with their sequence. For example, I think novice chasers are quite a good example, because if you've got a horse like Champ, you might win 4 or 5. You've got your 50 points tucked away. Then you've got the RSA. You could even go for the Gold Cup. Who knows? These horses, they've got the versatility to go places. So something like him, I think, is a better option than having your album photo or your Kenboy, who might only run once before the Gold Cup, and then they've got to win the Gold Cup for it to be you probably still only get 50 points, whatever it is, if you win the Gold Cup. So you might have a Champ that's got those 50 points tucked away in your bank before you get there, and he's still got a chance of winning the big race.
Would you take trainers into account that run more prolifically than others?
Little bit, but mostly I'd like the profile of the horse, what they're going to do, where they're going to go. For example, Classical Dream or Saldier, they've got a set number of runs they're going to have. They might run in the Irish Champion Hurdle. They'll probably run in something else at Leopardstown before, and then they'll go for the Champion Hurdle. So you've got a sort of a profile with them. I think if you're looking at horses that might only run a couple of times and then are going for their big race, I think you're on a loser there, because if they don't win the big race, people are going to find the winner of the big race, and you're going to be behind the 8 ball.
Okay, so have you got a short list?
I have.
Have you worked out how big a perm that's going to be if you try to cover them all?
It'll be a big perm. The great thing about this one is £5, isn't it? I mean, in the old days it was a lot of money, and doing a lot of perms was tricky. You had to have, it was a bit like the guys who play Betfair with their bots these days. They put loads of money in to win a bit. I mean, I think with £5 you can, I'll put 100 quid in, something like that. I'll have 20 lines and see where we go.
And are you prepared to give us your banker?
I think Champ's a banker. I think Champ should be a banker in any list. I like Defi de Soy, I think, who was good on Sunday. I like him. I think Envoy Allen will win lots of races. There's 3, and then I'll throw in sort of some tricky ones from the outside. I might avoid Altior if that's... I know Nico De Boinville's coming in a minute, so he won't be happy, but I thought with him switching trips and doing things, he's going to be so popular that you're not going to, if you leave him out, you might have an edge on loads of people, because I think he'll be the most popular horse in the competition, and therefore, if he doesn't do it, you might have a step ahead.
Okay, brilliant. Well, Tom Segal, thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Lizzie, you'll be riding this year, and people will be doing the 10 to follow. From your perspective, what are the qualities required from a horse to sort of run up a sequence if somebody's looking for one?
I think you're looking for a horse that has consistency. Obviously, perhaps starting at like the lower end of the handicap at the beginning of the season. So I think that you're looking for something that has room for improvement, so that throughout the season, every time it's running in a better race, it's just slightly ahead of the handicapper. So that's sort of where I tried looking. Okay,
so rather than the superstars going for the Gold Cup, it might be worth trying to ferret out a couple of dark ones.
I think so. Yeah, obviously there are the horses that will probably perform all year, like an Altior, for example, but you can't find 10 of them. So try and find something just underneath coming through, I think. Okay,
so with your background as well, you understand about the training side of it as well. How difficult is it for a trainer to keep a horse sound for the whole season, racing the whole season?
That's really hard, because you just can come across so many problems, and perhaps the horse has bad legs, but perhaps the horse is as sound as you like, but just doesn't take very much racing, and takes a long time to recover after a race. There are a lot of different problems with horses, but generally the very good trainers can keep them in one piece.
Okay, and then people would probably assume that chasers would be the hardest, but would it be hurdlers or chasers would be hardest to keep sound?
I think it's down to the individual. Chasers perhaps have the luxury of less runners and they go a little bit slower, whereas hurdlers, you often find they're much bigger fields, so can run into more issues. So yeah, it is sort of, yeah, it's difficult to know, but I'd probably say a chaser is easier to keep sound.
Okay, a lot of racing jump fans at this time of year are already obsessed with the festival. Now, for people actually working in the industry, is the festival, are you obsessed with it as well at this time of year, or are you looking to the next step, the Hennessy, that sort of thing?
I think the industry as a whole, unfortunately, slightly dances to the tune of the media, and it's the media that are obsessed with the festival. And I think if more was made of the smaller meetings on the way to the festival, then it would probably be a lot better for jump racing as a whole.
Okay, and finally, is the one at George and Impton that's probably going to run up a sequence?
Don't know, difficult to tell at this point. They're very difficult to come across. I mean, obviously last year we had Cyril Delac and Eric LaRouge, who both won 4 races in a row. Difficult to really pinpoint something that is that quality at this point.
Okay, lovely. Thanks, Lizzie Kealy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Nico De Boinville, thank you very much. Just a few questions on the 10 to follow. Should punters that are looking to enter, would it maybe best to avoid the superstars that get cosseted and go for maybe lower class horses that might move up?
I think it's definitely good to have a bit of a mixture there. You need your bankers and you need your reliable horses, but also the ones that you think are going to progress and improve.
Okay, that obviously it'd be good for punters if they can find one that's going to run up a bit of a sequence. What are the qualities required of a horse to do that?
Well, one that's going to be running off a nice mark, really, and you think is going to progress. It's fairly hard to know. It's always difficult to create a bit of a sequence, but you need to show a bit of class as well.
Okay, in reality, practicality, how hard is it to keep a horse sound for the whole season so you can do that?
It is very difficult, and that's why the likes of Altior doing what he's done and racking up a sequence like he has is incredibly tough to do. To keep a horse in one piece, year on, year out, is very tough, but we all try with every single horse we have.
Now, a lot of people might think that chasers would be most susceptible to injury, or what is that in reality? Would it be best to concentrate on chasers or hurdlers? Obviously, you have to have a mix, but for ones that are going to keep going throughout the season.
No, I don't think there's. Sometimes it just works out, and sometimes it doesn't. It's a bit of a lottery, I'd say. Sometimes you have to look at the conformation of a horse to see how they take to training. But yeah, I always like to think a trainer to follow for horses to rack up sequences is Dr. Newland. He's a horse that he's a trainer I like to follow, and he always seems to get horses running regularly and running well.
Okay, now people are already talking about the festival. As a professional, as a jockey, are you already looking towards the festival? Are you looking to the next big races as the season progresses?
I think we're always looking towards the festival, particularly for my boss, Nicky Henderson. That week is very, very important to us, and right now we're just trying to find our feet, and we've got a lot of horses yet to run, but we'll know more in the next month or 2 months.
Okay, and if you were entering and you needed a banker, what would it be?
Ooh, tough one. I think a horse like Pentland Hills. He showed incredible, stamina and durability last season. He had 3 quick runs, and I think he's a horse who could do very well this season.
Brilliant, Nico De Boinville. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
The Racing Post, Paul Kealy, thanks very much for talking to us again. Right, where do you start tackling the 10 to follow?
Well, you have to look at the bonus races, obviously, because you get extra points in those, and most of them are grade 1s, most of them are chases, so I think you've got to be top heavy with chasers always. You need a mix of stayers and speed horses.
Okay, so you would definitely go for the bonus races.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can always pick a couple that you think might run up a sequence. I mean, I think I put one in Samcro because I think he's just going to mop up in Ireland over fences early on, and you can get a few, but not that many horses will run up a sequence throughout the season. And I think you're probably better off focusing on the better races and the better horses.
Would you have trainers in mind in that case, ones that run the horses more perfectly?
Yeah, well, obvious is Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, Paul Nicholls, Colin Tizard, Nigel Twiston Davis, Nicky Henderson. The big trainers, they've got the big horses.
Okay, now have you got a short list for the 10 to follow?
Well, I had a short list of about 30, but you've got to somehow whittle it down to 10, haven't you? And that's and that's what I've done. I only get one shot at this, at putting a list out. So I have, and you can regret leaving half a dozen horses out, but you've got to unless you can have a big perm.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you worked out what the perm would have been if all the ones you wanted to do.
I daren't think about it, but you need a bigger syndicate than I can put together, put it that way.
Okay, well, you're trying to work out a perm, you've got a banker, which one's it going to be?
My banker will be Lost in Translation. I think he's going to be proper top class chaser this year. I think he'll win the King George, I think he might win the Gold Cup too.
Brilliant, really? Thank you very much.
No worries.